Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever looked back at a past relationship, maybe it was romantic, maybe a friendship, or even with a family member, and just thought to yourself, why on earth did I stay so long? Why did I keep going back? Well, today, we are going to completely unravel that deeply painful mystery. We're going to explore the hidden underlying reasons why we stay in relationships that slowly destroy us. And we're going to do it with deep empathy and some really undeniable science.
We've all seen it, right? We look at our friends, or sometimes we even look at ourselves in the mirror, and we have to ask a really painful question. Why do incredibly smart people stay in relationships that destroy them? If you have ever asked yourself this, or if you've ever beaten yourself up for not walking away sooner, I want to validate your experience right here, right now. You are not weak. You are not stupid. You are simply caught in one of the absolute most sophisticated psychological traps the human mind can ever experience.
Okay, let's dive into this. For years, society has fed us this incredibly judgmental myth. You know the one, the idea that staying in a bad relationship is just a sign of personal weakness or some lack of willpower. But the scientific reality? It's entirely different. Staying is actually the result of a profound chemical addiction. To truly understand toxic dynamics, we have to completely reframe our thinking and replace that old, shameful myth with the very real biological reality of chemical conditioning.
Section 1. Your brain on toxic love.
To see exactly how our own biology is practically weaponized against us, we have to start with the concept called intermittent reinforcement. This is a psychological pattern where rewards, like affection or kindness, are handed out completely randomly and unpredictably. Just imagine getting beautiful, romantic flowers on a Monday, and then receiving the cruel, agonizing silent treatment on Tuesday. In a toxic dynamic, you literally never know what version of your partner you're going to get. Sometimes it's intense love, sometimes it's cruel pain, and you're always in the dark about which one is coming next. This unpredictable cycle of abuse and affection keeps your brain constantly guessing, desperately waiting around for that next little breadcrumb of love.
Think of it exactly like playing a slot machine. When you pull the lever on a slot machine, you obviously don't win every time. But when you finally do hit the jackpot, your brain is flooded with a massive, overwhelming hit of dopamine. A toxic partner works on that exact same principle. The fights, the coldness, the rejection, they create immense stress, basically flooding your body with a stress hormone called cortisol. But when that apology finally comes, or things are magically good again, boom, your brain gets a gigantic dopamine hit. You aren't just in love, you are physically trapped in a powerful cortisol and dopamine loop.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that this dynamic creates what psychologists call a trauma bond. It's a deeply rooted chemical attachment, and it's formed by a repeated cycle of abuse, devaluation, and then positive reinforcement. Because of those wild hormonal swings we were just talking about, the brain gets incredibly confused. It actually starts mistaking the intense relief you feel right after a massive argument for genuine passion. Your body is just trying to create safety by attaching itself to someone, even when that someone is the literal danger itself. You literally become physically addicted to the source of your pain.
Section 2. The childhood blueprint.
So we really have to ask, why do some people's nervous systems actually seek out this kind of exhausting chaos in the first place? Well, the answer often lies in attachment theory. Psychologists categorize how we connect with others into 4 styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. You see, our early bonds with our caregivers literally program our brains from day one. If you grew up with unpredictable love, conditional affection, or emotional neglect, your brain calibrated itself to expect chaos. So as an adult, if you're carrying around unresolved childhood trauma, you will unconsciously recreate the emotional landscape of your youth. Why? Simple. To a traumatized brain, chaos feels familiar, while peace and stability actually feel completely, terrifyingly foreign.
Section 3. The cycle of abuse.
The shocking truth here is that toxic dynamics aren't just randomly bad. They follow a highly predictable, almost textbook pattern. It almost always kicks off with phase 1, love bombing. This is where they present themselves as the absolute perfect partner, making you feel this magical, once-in-a-lifetime connection instantly. But gradually we hit phase 2, devaluation. The little criticisms start, and suddenly absolutely nothing you do is good enough. Then comes phase 3, the discard, which leaves you feeling completely confused and devastated. But the absolute most insidious part of all this is phase 4, hoovering. Named after the vacuum cleaner, this is where the toxic partner sucks you right back in with a tearful apology, a grand gesture, or even just a random late-night text. Victims get completely trapped here, endlessly chasing that fake phase 1 version of their partner that never really existed.
And a core tool used to keep this vicious cycle spinning is gaslighting. This is a severe form of emotional manipulation where the abuser intentionally causes the victim to question their own memory, their own perception, and eventually their own sanity. It's essentially death by 1,000 cuts. It's hearing phrases on repeat like, "You're overreacting, that never happened," or "You're just being too sensitive." This chronic manipulation is so devastating because it literally steals a person's grip on reality. When you reach a point where you can no longer trust your own mind, you are forced to become completely dependent on the abuser to tell you what is real.
Section 4. Why leaving feels impossible. So, people always ask, why didn't they just leave? Well, the most powerful invisible barrier locking the door from the inside is cognitive dissonance. This is the severe mental distress of holding two completely conflicting truths at the exact same time. Your brain simply cannot comfortably hold the thought, "this person loves me," while simultaneously holding the thought, "this person is hurting me." It causes agonizing mental distress. So to survive that pain, the brain essentially lies to itself. It makes up excuses for the abuser's bad behavior, saying things like, "Oh, they're just really stressed out," or "they had a really hard childhood." It completely hides the harsh reality of the situation just to maintain the comforting illusion of love.
But in addition to cognitive dissonance, there are other invisible anchors keeping you trapped in the deep end. There's the sunk cost fallacy, which is that terrifying, paralyzing thought of, "I've already given this person 5 years of my life. I can't possibly start all over now." There's profound fear and forced isolation from friends and family. There's totally shattered self-worth. But perhaps the absolute heaviest anchor of them all is identity loss. Years spent inside a toxic dynamic will slowly, systematically strip away your sense of who you are outside of that relationship. Leaving doesn't just mean going through a breakup. It means facing a terrifying existential void after the toxic relationship has completely erased your identity.
Section 5. Rewiring your brain for peace. Let's move forward and see how this builds into something truly hopeful. The really good news here is that science offers an empowering, actionable solution firmly based on neuroplasticity. Here is your concrete 3-step recovery checklist to systematically dismantle that chemical bond. Step 1. Name it out loud. You have to call the relationship exactly what it is: toxic and harmful. Doing this instantly shatters that cognitive dissonance we talked about. Step 2. Understand it's not love, it's fear. You must redefine that extreme emotional roller coaster as the panic of survival, rather than some kind of epic romantic passion. And step 3, break the cycle physically. You absolutely must create undeniable physical space between you and the abuser.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why, to truly recover, you have to understand the fundamental difference between what you are leaving behind and what you are striving for. Healthy love is safe, it is predictable, and honestly, it is quiet. It doesn't require you to constantly prove your worth every single day. Toxic love, on the other hand, is constantly anxious, deeply draining, and perpetually confusing. But here is the trick, and you need to be prepared for this. If your nervous system was deeply traumatized, healthy love might initially feel a bit boring to you. But I promise you, that boring feeling, that is just your nervous system finally experiencing genuine peace.
So please remember this. Distance is not weakness, it is medicine. Enforcing physical distance from a toxic partner is not a failure to make things work, it is not giving up. When you are dealing with a trauma bond, contact itself is the toxin. Walking away is the ultimate, necessary act of self-preservation. It provides the quiet, stable environment you need to let your completely hijacked brain chemistry finally stabilize and heal.
What hurts you repeatedly is not love. It is attachment to pain. But here is the incredible silver lining in all of this. Because your brain was wired to need a toxic person, it inherently possesses the miraculous biological ability to be completely rewired for peace. You are not permanently broken. Your brain is highly resilient, and you are entirely capable of healing and finding true happiness.
As we bring this explainer to a close, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to think about. What is one red flag you will never, ever ignore again? Take everything you've learned today about dopamine, about attachment styles, and about abuse cycles, and use that knowledge to set fierce, unbreakable new boundaries. Protect your peace moving forward, because you absolutely deserve a relationship that heals you, not one that destroys you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.